What's up, guys? My name is Bryce. Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be looking at the ONEPLUS 12R. This phone's been out for a few months, but I just recently got my hands on it, and I just kind of want to let you guys know my personal opinion. I do want to start off by saying that I think it's a pretty great phone for the price, and all things considered, it should be on the top of your list if you're on a budget and you're looking for a brand new Android. So, as some of you might know, with the OnePlus, they try to pack as much of a punch as they can for the price. The OnePlus 12R does a lot of that as well. You're getting a Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, 5500 milliamp hour battery, 100-watt fast charging, 4500 nit peak brightness. You're only going to see that when it's in auto brightness, and on top of that, Gorilla Glass Victus 2. These are specs that you're usually going to see on high-end flagship phones, but you're getting it for $500 with the OnePlus 12R, so that's a steal. As for the build quality of the phone, it's right up there with the rest of the flagships in this day and age. You're going to get your aluminum, and on top of that, you're getting glass as far as the build quality is concerned. The camera module, it's a sight to behold. I don't think that's for everybody, and in my personal opinion, I think it's ugly. I don't think that, I get that what they're trying to do is be different, and they did that, but sometimes being different doesn't always mean that you're better. In this case, I think that this is probably the ugliest camera module on the market right now. Again, that's my opinion. You like what you're into, but I like what Google's doing with the bar across the back. Obviously, iPhones is pretty standard. A lot of companies are copying that out there. Samsung's got the cameras from top to bottom, but when it comes to OnePlus, this ain't working for me. I don't like it. That's my opinion, though. Everything else about the phone from a build quality perspective has been, for the most part, fine. There are some gaps that are relatively big around the display that I'm not a huge fan of. I don't know if everyone else's unit is going to have this, but on mine, there was some discoloration in the paint. I don't know if it's paint, but around the button area, there was just some white, specks rather than, a fluid color. So something to keep in mind. But at this price range, I feel like there are probably going to be some defects that slide. The alert slider, on the other hand, I like a lot. I think that they've done a really good job with this, and it doesn't just copy the iPhone, it does its own thing. You're going to get three toggle options. You've got vibrate, you've got silent, and then, of course, you've got sound. And I think that's cool that you get to choose between all three of those options. They did a pretty good job with that. I don't want to spend too much time talking about the camera because it's really not a highlight with this phone. You're going to get the Sony IMX890 sensor, and it's got a 50 megapixel f1.8, so it's fine, it's usable, but that's about where it ends. If you've got really good lighting, you can get some acceptable pictures, and as far as the videography is concerned, again, acceptable, but if you're planning on using it for any professional reason, I would imagine that this is probably not going to be a phone that should be at the top of your list for that. The camera, definitely not the highlight with this phone. So you're also getting a macro lens and an ultra wide in the triple camera setup. I would say for the most part they're fine. The pictures that you're going to get from them are usable, but it's nothing that you're going to be proud of when you post it on social media or try to use it for any professional reasons by any stretch of the mind. And that becomes even more evident when you take the exact same picture with another phone in the same price range, like, for example, an iPhone SE or even a Pixel 8a. If you're in the market for something with the best camera at this price range, this definitely should not be at the top of your list. With that said, I did get some still shots and some videography with the phone, and I'm going to put those here now for you to take a look, and feel free to comment and kind of put your opinion down there. I personally think that everything comes out pretty grainy. I just don't like the look, the lighting, the saturation. Everything that comes from it is just not favorable to my eye. But let me know what you think. These are just my thoughts on it, but I feel like they should have just parted ways with the triple camera setup on this phone and maybe just focused heavily on the main sensor. And I feel like they would have gone a lot farther. The macro and the ultra wide just don't look great. I feel like they could have invested more money in that main sensor and maybe just done that with a flash, and then that would have been brilliant. But camera's just not great. Now, as for the display, I think that is the biggest part of this phone that makes it attractive. Literally, it is a 6.7-inch AMOLED display, 2780 by 1264, I believe. Dolby Vision, HDR10 plus, support for 10 color gamut. There's quite a bit going on as far as the display is concerned, not to mention the 120 hertz refresh rate display. And then on top of that, they're basically dropping this new feature called Aqua Touch Display. Um, and I mean, it's been out for a few months, and the people who have had the phones have basically been saying that in the event that water, gets on the display, it still functions extremely well. That's pretty cool. There's a lot of people out there that, if you're, working in a rainy city, or if you're, working around a lot of maybe like some droplets, maybe in like a nursery where plants and stuff like that are being watered. It's kind of cool to know that, if your display gets water on it, it's not going to start acting all weird and glitching out like other phones might do. Overall, whether you're gaming or watching video or just using the phone through the menus and texting, I think that the display is awesome. Whether you're out in daylight or you're in an office setting, maybe you're chilling on the couch in a dim setting, the display looked good in every scenario. And I can't think of anything that the display did that made me feel otherwise. I will say that something that's going to take some getting used to for those of you that are coming from Samsung's One UI and Google Pixel's stock Android is going to be the software. It's running Color OS, which is OnePlus's skin on top of Android. And for the most part, it is pretty cohesive with what you're going to see on Android. But they do a little bit of their own thing in certain areas where it's definitely different. I will say that the customization, in my opinion, felt even better and more broad than I was even getting with a Pixel or my Samsungs. So that is something that I did like, but in a lot of ways it just feels kind of like a fun software. It doesn't feel as professional as you would get from, again, Samsung and Pixel. So the next topic that I'd like to talk about is the battery. Um, I think that every single person who buys this phone is going to be extremely happy with that. The battery lasted me all day, every day. I'd start with 100% and I'd come home and I'd still have 20% plus to use. Um, and that's with heavy usage. Everything from gaming all the way down to YouTube videos, probably like 10 plus phone calls, text messages, you name it. I was on the phone a lot throughout the days that I was using it, and it never let me down. You'll be getting some of the best battery performance that you've ever seen in a phone. At least for me, this has definitely blown any other phone that I've had clear out of the water, right up there with my 15 Pro Max. Overall, there's no doubt about it. For $500, this phone makes a lot of other flagships look sorry. Everything from the display all the way down to the battery life is amazing, and a lot of it you'd have to pay a whole lot more to get. And I think that's why the flagship killer motto that they use is really coming back to life with this phone. But there are drawbacks. I mean, the camera is just not good enough, especially when you compare it to the iPhone SE and the Pixel 8a in the same price range. The camera just doesn't cut it. And on top of that, they're saying that this phone's only going to get 4 years of software updates, major software updates. That's just not going to cut it. When you're looking at the Pixel 8a, when you're looking at a lot of Samsungs, I mean, they're getting 7 years, So the reality of it is this has to up its game to be in that segment.